to ask questions as I move along here, okay?
Sure.
Don't be afraid to cut me off and say, hey, I got a question with that. I try to move through this pretty quickly, so I don't take up anyone's time too much. You know, I know it's late night, but like I say, you got any questions, you got any concerns, make sure you get my attention so I can stop and answer those questions. Okay.
Sure.
And at the end, if I haven't covered anything, you make sure that that you ask those questions as well before we end this session. Okay.
Okay.
And also too, I want to say that I offer online classes, right? These I also not online, but offer, I guess you can say online. It's live classes, and they're through this Zoom platform here. So every Tuesday is where I have the live weekly class for contractors. So tomorrow, 7:30, it's just like on this platform. I do usually a PowerPoint. It's either with the law and business. There's like 3 different parts to that. Then there's a math course. So it's this interaction here that I have with the live weekly classes, you know?
Gotcha. Okay.
You know? All right, let's get started. So what we're going to be covering today and what you're going to get out of this course today is how do I get my contractor's license? We'll also cover how much will it cost? How long does it take? What insurance costs? What insurance you need to have? How do you find work as a licensed contractor? We'll talk a little bit about marketing, bidding, and how to have your phone ring. There's some upcoming changes with the board fees and rules that you need to know about. We talk about hiring employees as 1099, what each classification is for. There's a A, a B, there's an A, a B, and a C classification. We talk about what each classification is for and what you can do with each classification, because there's different requirements that you can do with each license. What I can do as an unlicensed contractor, and how do you protect yourself? Because you still need to do working up to getting to your license. So you really need to know the things that you can, that little gray area that you can stay in while you're unlicensed contractor working to be a licensed contractor, and how do you protect yourself? We'll glimpse over how much contract dollars did the construction industry produce last year. One of the questions we get a lot is, what if I have felonies? Can I still get my contractor's license? I only done work for myself. How do I verify my experience? There's a work verification form that the state board requires you to fill out to verify the required years that they require you to have. So they need a work verification form to fill out. We're going to talk about a little bit about that. And next thing is one of the top questions as well. What if I have bad credit? Let's jump into this. Questions that hold people back from getting to the next level. Can I get a contractor's license with bad credit? The board doesn't care about your bad credit, nor does the Construction.Entrepreneurs School. We don't care about your bad credit as well. There are a few things that's kind of associated with bad credit that may disqualify you or hold you back from getting your license. Is let's say if you owe the government, say past due taxes, and you're just delinquent. If they find out that you're actually getting your license, they can actually stop you from getting your license. Or if you happen to get your license, they actually can suspend your license until those debts are paid in full. If you owe child support, not just owing, you have to be in delinquent status. If you're not paying, they're looking for you and things like that. that can hold you back or potentially suspend your license once you have it, once they find out that you do have a license. So not so much the bad credit, but those things associated with dealing with bad credit can disqualify you. What if I have a criminal background? Yes and no. Having a criminal background doesn't automatically disqualify you from getting your contractor's license. But if you have anything that you have been involved in dealing with a felony within the last 3 years, they're really going to take a hard look at your case. Okay, and they are going to require you to probably meet some certain criteria to make sure that what you're doing, you have changed and how you're going about things, seeing if you are, how far you have come along, have you taken any programs and things like that. So you need to show as much as you can if it's something recent. But anything over 3 years, they may briefly ask about, because you have to tell everything. You have to put everything on the application from when you were 2 to now needs to be on the application. So they may look at it and they may take it case by case, but they definitely will look at anything dealing with fraud. If you're dealing with people's credit, you're dealing with check fraud, they're definitely going to take a hard look at that, no matter how old it is, no matter how long ago it was. That's definitely going to be a red flag for them. So that's a yes and a no there, okay? What if I don't have the homeowners, I work for contact information? Well, on the part on the work verification, you're allowed to plug in projects that you have done on your own. Say you was a handyman, or you were a contractor doing an unlicensed contractor doing work for yourself. Now, it's always kind of risky inputting this information, because the board is also looking at, are you contracting illegally, right? Any contracts over $500 for labor and materials is illegal. So it's sort of a gray area here when you have been working by yourself and you're trying to prove your work experience. But not having the homeowner's information is not terribly bad, but you cannot not have homeowners information for every project. Okay, you cannot list 10 different projects and not have the homeowner's contact for neither project. Okay, you have to provide some type of information so they can actually verify your experience. They may not call, but you need to show that you have some type of contact number there that they can reach out to. Okay. What if the contract I work for is no longer in business? It's not your fault. The contractor is no longer in business, and the board may not even care. But if they do, they may take it a step further and ask you for pay stubs. They may ask you for, if you don't have pay stubs because it's been so long, they may ask you for bank account records to show that you have had these payroll checks deposited in there. If they do decide to take it a little bit further, they want to see some information that you have in your possession to show that you actually have been working or employed for that particular contractor, if they decide to take it that far. A lot of times they just have so many applications coming in, they're not really, you get brushed over. If you do get caught, then you're probably 1 in 1,000 that gets asked for that further verification information. I do not have a social security number. Now the board does not require you to have a social security number now, as long as you have a EIN number where you can file taxes and you can actually get your contractor's license. What if I was caught doing unlicensed activity? Everyone that's unlicensed, that's out there doing work, trying to make a living, is in risk of getting caught doing unlicensed activity. If you get caught, usually it's a slap on the wrist, depending on what type of situation they caught you in. If it's dealing with senior citizens, you're definitely going to get a harsh penalty. and you may be permanently disqualified from getting your license for lesser offenses where you're just actually just trying to overcharge or you're just contracting without a license. A lot of times they give you a deadline to get your license or you pay a fine. And that's what usually happens there. So any other questions that you have there, Quincy? Are you there? Uh-oh. You there? Not sure if you're there. I think you're there. Well, let me know if you do, okay? All right, how do I qualify to become a contractor in California? You have to be 18 years or older. You have to have a minimum of 4 years experience within the last 10 years at a journeyman level. So that means that 4 years within the last 10 years. So it could be 1 year, 9 years ago, it could be another year, 5 years ago, it can be 6 months experience, 18 months ago, and so forth. As long as that total time is within that 10-year period and it equals a total of 4 years, but at a journeyman level or higher. So that means that you need to be a foreman or in some type of management position where you're running the work. You know what exactly is going on. Okay, you have some field experience. They want you to have that. You have to be able to verify this experience. We talked a little bit about the work verification form. You have to fill that out for each section of time that you're claiming this experience, right? So let's say you have a year 9 years ago, then they want to know who was that with. Okay, was that with T.A. Jones Concrete? Then you need to fill out a work verification form for that year with T.A. Jones Concrete. But now you can fill out as many as you want, as you like. It can be 1 month I work for this contractor, another month I work for this contractor. I have filled out 30 different work verifications for one individual, and it totaled up to about 4.5 years. So however many work verification forms you need to fill out to total up to 4 years, you just have to do that. But you need to be able to verify that experience. And that's it. And you qualify to get your contractor's license. All right, let's go over descriptions of license classifications. So a lot of individuals think that, hey, if I get my general engineering, I could do anything under the sun, which is not true. Each classification will allow you to do different parts of work. Okay, it's like for the general engineering, the A license. You're going to be dealing with anything specializing in engineering. Okay, water power, flood control, streets and roads, tunnels, bridges, pipelines, underground work, curb and gutter work, and such. That's what you can do with the A license. The general building license, the B license, you're going to deal with a business connection with any structure built or being built or to be built, required in this construction the use of at least 2 or more trades or crafts. That's very important with that one. We're going to touch on that here shortly. You can build single-family homes, multifamily residentials, commercial buildings, remodels, additions. Now, getting a general B is great, but by law, as a prime contractor with a B license, you can bid on jobs with framing. It has to be framing and carpentry, plus 2 additional trades. So the 2 additional trades can be concrete and drywall or painting and installation, whatever it is. But that one main trade as a prime contractor, it would have to be carpentry and framing. Now, if you was to be a general building contractor, B, as a subcontractor, you only can do work for framing and carpentry only. You cannot do any other trades. You only can do framing and carpentry as a subcontractor. But as a prime, you can do several things, but you have to have first that carpentry and framing, and then 2 additional trades. The C specialty license, that's something that you're looking getting into, Quincy, is the C7 low voltage. Now with the C7 low voltage, you only can do work dealing with low voltage. And they list the things that you can actually do with that license. A lot of people think, hey, let me go get the electrician license and I can do low voltage, and you can't. It doesn't cover electrical work. It only covers low voltage systems work. Okay. I heard insurance is too expensive. A lot of individuals are held back because they're like, hey, you know what? I don't want to get my license because I don't want to have to fork over this insurance bill. And they have no idea what insurance bill they're talking about. So is insurance too expensive? It's a yes and it's a no. So let's start first on the left-hand side. Are you there, Quincy?
Yeah.
You got any questions? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm sorry. I had to like step outside for a second. That put you on mute.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Should I take it back a little bit or what?
No, I got it.
Okay. So insurance is yes and no. The only insurance you need as a contractor starting out is the board is going to require you to have a $15,000 contractor bond, which will cost you around $140. Could be less. Is all based on your credit. So if you have good credit, then you'll pay probably $100 or maybe even $120. But average credit, you're looking at $140 to $160, and they'll cover you for a year. And that bond would have to be active to have your contractor's license active. This bond is actually insurance for the Contractor State License Board. If you were to, flake out or not do work for a homeowner or another contractor, the board can actually step in and pull that money, that 15 grand, out of your bond and pay off your debt to employees, homeowners, or other contractors that you may have reneged on the contract on, or just not have paid out any payments out on. Okay. Other insurance that you may get is you only will need this as your business grow. Okay. Next was general liability. Now, mind you, no matter what situation you're in, you need to have the $15,000 contractor's bond. Next is general liability. Anytime you're doing work for any larger entity, any larger general contractor, they're going to require you to have general liability. General liability would typically cost you anywhere between $1,800 to $2,500, depending on what you want covered in that. Next, if I guarantee you, if they're requiring you to have general liability, they're going to require you to have commercial auto insurance. Now, a lot of individuals ask me, is like, hey, I can't get commercial auto insurance because I don't have a company truck. I don't have a commercial truck. And it's not so much true. You don't have to have a construction truck. You don't have to have a utility truck. You actually can put commercial auto insurance on your vehicle, your everyday vehicle that you drive, and get commercial auto insurance. That's one of the things I first did when I started doing work for larger contractors. I didn't have a company truck. I just had my one truck that I had. It was a pickup truck. So I had personal auto insurance on it, and I also added commercial auto insurance on it. So I was paying two insurance policies, but they were used for two separate things. Okay. That'll cost you anywhere from $800 to $1,200, depending on the aggregate that you need to cover. Is it $1 million, $2 million, $2 million, $2 million? It all depends on what your general contractor or the type of work that you're doing, the type of coverage that you normally need to have. And next is workers' compensation insurance. Worker compensation insurance is anytime you have anyone working for you. And there's policies right now where you pay as you go. The old policies to where you had to pay a premium ahead on assumption on what they expected your payroll to be is over. You now can pay as you go. You actually, if you have payroll that week, you pay workers' comp that week. That's the great thing about it. Any questions? Next is contractor bonding. That's the last one here. Now, contractor bonding, it only comes into play when a general contractor may require you, or a large entity where you're working for the city or the state. They require you to have contracting bonding, and usually your contracting bonding is based on your credit, and it's usually 3% of the contract cost. That's how much you'll pay for the contract bonding. And usually the bonding is dealing with the bid bond, work performance bond, work performance bond, and oh wow, I lost it there. Work performance, utility. Bid bond, work performance bond, and I forget what the last one is here. Come to me before this is over. What can I do as an unlicensed contractor, and how do you protect yourself? It's a small window here on what you can do as an unlicensed contractor, and to stay in the guidelines to protect yourself. You have to keep every project under $500 or less. It is illegal if you break down a large project into smaller projects or charged by the hour to reach a $500 breakdown. If you work on a job and the job is over 500, but you have broken that job down into smaller projects, you're not the first to do it. If something goes wrong on that job and the homeowner reports you to the Contractor Study License Board, they will actually look into that and see how that job is broken down. You actually can be fined for it. So people have already done it before. You're not doing anything new if you was to do that. Just remember, if you get caught, the penalty will come down and you'll be facing whatever, disciplinary actions that they will bring forward. Remember, your customers can still call the CSLB on you. As an unlicensed contractor, even though you're not licensed, they can still call the Contractor State License Board on you. To protect yourself, write a detailed contract for every project, no matter how small the project is. It doesn't matter. This is going to protect you as an unlicensed contractor. Write the contract in the language you sold it in. If you sold it speaking French, then the contract should be wrote in French. This is actually a law. However, if you were speaking Spanish when you sold that contract, then that contract needs to be wrote in Spanish. You can pull permits as an unlicensed contractor as long as you fall under requirements by the CSLB. You must provide a written and signed statement to the city that you're trying to apply for the permits with. Okay, but you can pull permits as an unlicensed contractor. A lot of unlicensed contractors doesn't realize this, so they have the homeowners go up there and have to deal with the city and pull the permits and everything, but they actually can pull the permits as long as they fall under the guidelines of keeping a project under 500. Always remember, building officials can send referrals to the State Contractors License Board. There's actually a link for building officials to report unlicensed contractors. So be careful. It's not a common thing, but you can run into a building official that wants to report you to the Contractor State License Board. Okay, a lot of people think that the building officials doesn't cover that area. They don't make judgments as far as whether you're licensed or unlicensed, and they don't. They can't fine you. They can't write you a ticket. Now, if they find that you're working in their city and you haven't paid for the business license and things like that, then they can report you like that and really get you in a lot of trouble. But for your contractor's license, all they do is have to fill out a simple form, submit it, and the information is there, and the board will be contacting you very soon. Have the homeowner sign off on each item completed. This way you will have rights to file a mechanic lien on the property if you're not paid for that finished item. So basically it's saying once you have the contract, if you complete that section, you have the homeowner sign off that section is completed. Once the homeowner sign off that it's completed, that's basically saying that item can be in use. If they don't sign off on it, then you're basically saying that project is still going. You need to have the item signed off for completion. If you don't have that and they don't pay you, then they can say whatever they want to say. If you develop a contract, create a contract, have them sign when it's completed, you have grounds to stand on as an unlicensed contractor. But remember, the project needs to be under 500. Marketing and bidding. Let's talk a little bit about that. You can do some Facebook ads. You can do Instagram ads. You can create apps to create ads. There's a few apps there. Designer app, I still use that one a lot. PicMonkey, I don't really use that one anymore. You can offer cash to family and friends for their referrals if someone signs a contract. I see a lot of it on Facebook where, flooring contractors are offering $50 to, family and friends that refer someone and they sign a contract. Pretty easy advertising. Facebook ads. Right now, I still do Facebook ads, and I don't have a very high budget here. I usually spend about $5 for 4 days. The reach is far, reach a lot of people. Let's jump into the bidding part. Overhead. Anytime you're doing an estimate for a project, overhead standard is 5%, especially starting out when you really don't have an office. You're just working out your home. You may even be working out your car. Your car may be your mobile office. You want to charge some type of overhead because you still have to make copies. You still have to, buy pens and pencils and paper clips and clipboards and travel to these different places. So you want to have some type of overhead cost in your bid. We have another class where we teach you how to calculate your overhead percentage. But just as a standard, if you're not charging overhead costs, you want to put in at least 5%. Profit. Typically, profit is 10%. Unless you're dealing with very small projects, then you can raise that up, as high as you want. But just an average project that you're bidding on, usually the profit ranging anywhere between 10% as high as 12%. Okay, and that's for large companies that does millions of dollars. Their profit stays about 10 to 12%, and some of them are even lower, down to 8%. Owner wages. It's very important that as a new contractor that you pull a wage or a monthly salary from your business and not just pocketing what you make for profits. Okay, you want to separate your wages and profits for the company. Always tell owners that they should be making anywhere from $40 to $60 per hour. Their company should be paying them that much per hour or a salary. Okay, a lot of individuals are going wrong because they actually are pocketing the money that they make from each job. Why? Because they're not factoring in these percentages, in these wages. Next, create a standard price sheet to make it easier to do every estimate. So basically, you want to create a price sheet. How much is it for the top wire puller? How much is it for one of your top laborers? How much is it for medium labor? How much is it for lower grade labor? You have all these prices established with the proper percentages added to those prices, then you already have a standard price sheet. So that means that if you take a guy, he's $25 an hour, and then you add the 5% overhead to that number, you add a labor burden to that number, say of 30%, then you add a profit to that number of 10%. Then that's your total cost for that person on an hourly wage. That means that you're making X amount of dollars off that person. You're getting X amount of overhead from that person, hourly wage. Every day that person is there. If you create a standard price sheet, it make it easier to do every estimate. We have an estimate class that we do too as well, and we cover that in detail. Don't forget to charge a tax for every item you purchase. A lot of individuals leave out tax. What I see a lot of contractors doing is that they bid on the job, and then throughout the job, they're running back and forth to Home Depot or running back and forth to some supplier to pick up extra materials. And before you know it, all those items that they were buying, they never included tax. They always did a roundabout number. And each time you don't calculate that tax in, and each time you purchase, it just adds up. And that's why a lot of contractors at the end of their project, they're like, hey, I thought I was going to make $300, but I only actually have $240 now. Where did the money go? You know, and there's one of the things is that they read and account for tax, sales tax, on a lot of items that they purchase, which should have been in the bid. Now, this little nugget here that I share with a lot of contractors here. If, like for you, Quincy, you're buying a lot of wire, you're buying maybe even a lot of tubing and things like that. So that's a product that you'll always be dealing with. Okay, so there should be no more buying it from Home Depot or the supplier down the way. You should be going straight to the manufacturer, asking them, can you become a distributor for this product because you will buy so much of it. Now, nowadays, a lot of manufacturers does not require their distributors to have a warehouse. Most likely, they require you to purchase a certain amount on your first purchase to become a distributor for them, you know. And this way, you can actually be more competitive on your bidding, and you don't have to travel to these different places trying to shop this price and get the best bid. If you buy the item a lot, like I tell a lot of the window guys, go to a manufacturer that produces windows, all makes and models of windows. And that way, when your customer goes and says, hey, I seen a window at Home Depot that I like, you can match that spec to, your manufacturer specs to get a similar window or even better window. And you don't have to deal with that inflated price at Home Depot. You actually become the distributor. And then, on the downtimes, you can sell those windows to other contractors or sell that piping to other contractors. So you definitely want to look into that. Becoming a distributor for products that you frequently buy for any project. How do I find work as an unlicensed and licensed contractor? Very important. A lot of guys out there are like, hey, I was actually on Craigslist getting work as an unlicensed contractor, but where do I find work as a licensed contractor? So as you become licensed, you search for primes. You look for general contractors to be placed on their bid list as a subcontractor. You can easily just Google general contractors in my area. And several of them will pop up. You call them and said, hey, can I be placed on your bid list as a subcontractor? And they will send you work. They will send you plans when it's related to your trade. So let's say like you do low voltage. They will send you work when they have low voltage. They'll send you the plans. You can bid on the plans. They're always looking for subcontractors. Okay. Another thing, how I used to get a lot of work as well is when I'm driving on the freeway and I'm just driving, I always look around at different trucks. I see the name of a general contractor on the side of a truck. I'll write it down or I note it for later. And when I get home or at the office, I'll Google that contractor. And a lot of times these contractors have subcontractor forms on their website. You fill out the form, submit it, and then they'll start sending you projects right away. It's just that simple. Or you call them. If they don't have a form on their website, you give them a call. Hey, I want to become a subcontractor. What I need to do? Usually they'll take down your name, your email address, and send you work that day, because they're looking for more subcontractor bids. All right, go to every networking event you can attend. Very important. A lot of contractors or just a lot of small business owners don't realize how important networking is. I used to go to events a lot. I still go to them now, but just not as much. But I have gained so many contacts. I have gained so many jobs. now I gain so many students when I go to these events. And there's different events. There's your Chamber of Commerce. There's different associations that have meetups every week. You can go on Eventbrite, and there's so many meetups on Eventbrite that's free, and they also cost anywhere from $10 to $50 to attend. But these meetup groups, you will meet so many different individuals that you can potentially do work with or potentially do work for you. Join your local chamber of commerce. Advertise what you do, not so much your name right now. This is very important. I teach to my students is that you know, for Home Depot, we know how the Home Depot sign looks. There's a few other logos out there where Google, you know, you see a G, you can, you know, G a certain way, you can actually say, hey, that's Google. Well, your name is not that famous. Your name doesn't have that much behind it right now. So a lot of my guys are putting Tyrone Jones Concrete Work, and Tyrone Jones is in big bold letters on side their truck, but I keep telling them, hey, Tyrone Jones, it has nothing to it. The people that are looking at your advertisement is a split second that they need to see what you do, not so much your name. So advertise what you do, not so much your name. So it should be, yeah, I can put Tyrone Jones, but Concrete Works needs to be larger on my advertisement so people can see that, hey, I am a concrete contractor, not just I'm Tyrone Jones. Tyrone Jones is not going to give me the work. Knowing what I do is going to give me the work. So advertise what you do, not so much your name right now. Search for partnerships. It's another way you can get work. Search for partnerships. Partnerships can look different ways. You can bring people in and they can do work for, you know, for 3% of the contract and come in and do work. You can establish partnerships different ways. It doesn't have to be 50-50. So look for those partnerships where people can come in and take care of a certain amount of work and get paid a certain amount of a percentage for that particular job. That way it takes it off your hands and it gets done. This is the market app. There's a code here, a promo code. These guys will send you leads for free. Doesn't require any credit card. You can sign up with them, use the BC 2017 code. They will send you work free for 3 months, free leads. Sometimes it works for some contractors, sometimes it doesn't, but it doesn't hurt to sign up and try to receive work. And after the 3 months, then they will ask you if you want to sign up as a member. Then they will ask you for a payment after that. But in the beginning, free, sign up, great people. They send in great work, but like I said, sometimes it works for some, sometimes it works for others. Sometimes it doesn't work for others. Like I said, we'll go briefly about what the construction spend was in 2015, 2016. I just go over this and show these numbers to show that, hey, it's a lot of work out there. It's a lot of work out there. As a contractor, a lot of people thinking like, hey, you know, I can't get any of this work. Well, there's just a lot. There's billions of dollars of work here. Construction is up. As you see, residential is up 4.7%. On the non-residential side is up 2.35%. And that's just from 2015 to 2016. We already know it's even up, you know, moving into 2017, coming to the end of 2017, moving into 2018. You can see on the freeways, you can see, you know, a lot of apartments going up and everything. So there's a lot of work out there for everyone. All right, let's talk about some upcoming changes with the board fees that you're going to have to deal with here. The Assembly Bill, this allows a client to not pay a contractor and to demand a return of compensation paid for work completed if the contractor was unlicensed at any time during the course of work. Basically, if you're unlicensed, they don't have to pay you. If you fall short on not renewing your license for a period of time on a project, your customer can nitpick you and not pay you for that period of time. The Senate Bill 1209. All your complaints will follow you for every license you obtain and will be available publicly for each complaint. So basically they're saying this, with your contractor's license, you actually can get 4 different licenses, right? So that means that you can have this one license and then you can open up 3 separate other companies under that one contractor's license. You can open up 3 separate companies and get different license numbers for each one. Okay. And then you also can be joined on as a partner under another license. Well, what this is saying, let's say if you're under 5 different licenses, well, if you had a complaint under your name, it will follow you under all those licenses, whether if you're the licensee or not. It will follow you everywhere your name goes and not so much your license. So if you get a license, if you get a complaint under this license, your main license that you have, then if you open up another business, if your name is on that other business with the Contractor Study License Board, that complaint follows you. It sucks, but they're trying to stop people from getting complaints with different numbers and jump into another number. Okay, 2486 will allow consumers to search contractors. Now, this one here, there's a lot of licensed contractors complaining that, hey, you know, homeowners or contractors, they really can't find subcontractors, so they're going to Craigslist. And Craigslist is a platform that breeds unlicensed activity. So the licensed contractors are putting pressure on the state contractors license board, basically saying like, hey, you're not giving the consumer anywhere to go but to these other platforms where there's a lot of unlicensed activity. Why don't you create something on your website that allows consumers to be able to search for contractors? So the board had to come up with a search bar. So now consumers can go to the Contractor State License Board website and actually search for contractors in the area. So someone can find you now that if you're in the area, they can actually find contracts instead of just going to Craigslist. These are the fees that will increase now. And these fees took effect July 1st this year. The application fee went from $300 now to $330. The renewal fee went from $360 to $400. The home improvement salesperson went from $75 to $83. Now, the home improvement salesperson, that's someone that if you have a partner, let's say you get your license and then you bring me on as a partner. Well, if I'm not actually on that license, but you have me like selling and trying to get work under that license number, I will need to sign up for a home improvement salesperson license to be able to sell work and sell and sign contracts with consumers, with customers. You can't just have anyone signing contracts unless they're actually on a license or they're registered with the Contractor State License Board. All right, so a lot of us do this here. Hiring employees as 1099 contractors. There are consequences with treating an employee as an independent contractor. Not everyone is a 1099. A lot of us, skate underneath the curtain because we don't want to pay the workers' comp fees. We don't want to pay, unemployment, and all these FICA and FUCA taxes. So we label people as 1099 contractors. Well, if you're telling them what time to show up, what to do every hour, how to conduct themselves there, then they are labeled employees. There was one contractor that I was just dealing with 6 months ago where he actually paid some guys 1099. I think it was 5 of them. And one of the guys filed for his taxes and was confused with filing his taxes. So he actually said that, hey, he wasn't a 1099 person. He's not going to pay all these taxes and the money that he was paid from this guy that signed up to the school. So he actually lists himself as an employee. And it came back on a contractor that he was doing fraud, where he labeled someone as 1099, but he was actually an employee. Dude got in serious trouble. He was able to clear it up, but through it just took him through the motions, and all because he labeled someone as a 1099, and eventually they turned it when they went and filed taxes and said, hey, no, I was actually an employee. So he was able to get out of it with some minor fees there. I don't remember exactly what he had to pay there. All right, so explanation of fees. When you're enrolled with the Construction Entrepreneur School and Services, the tuition here is $499, okay? And the tuition that you're paying is for the licensing program only, okay? That goes to the school, all right? And then we have an optional, like we can set up a corporation for you, but we'll just go ahead and cross that out. We can do a DBA for you. We'll go ahead and cross that out because you can literally do that on your own. So right now you have $499 tuition for your licensing program, okay? Now, after about a month, the state board is going to require you to pay them a fee. You're going to have to pay a fee to the state board, which is $330, and that's for your application fee. Okay, it's non-refundable. And that's the application where we talked about doing a work verification form. About 2 weeks after that, the board is going to require you to get a live scan fingerprinting done. That can cost you anywhere from probably as low as $50 to $75 to $100, depending on where you go to get that live scan fingerprinting done. But they require you to get that. Also want to note some of the timelines in here. So at first you signed up for the school at $499. A month after that, we do your application to the state board, which costs you $330. And then 2 weeks after that, the board is going to ask you to do a live scan fingerprinting. And after that, you don't pay anything else until after you pass your exam, okay? Till after you pass your exam. After you pass your exam, you're going to pay $200 for a 2-year license to the State Contractors License Board. This is after you pass your exam. You're going to pay $200 for a 2-year license. Then they're going to require you to get a bond. And we talked about the bond in the other slides there, where you're going to have to pay $140 for 1 year for a $15,000 bond. It usually takes about 3 to 4 months to get your contractor's license. This is some of the other fees that you can see for the contractor's license here. These are some more of the fees here that you will not have to deal with until later. And this is what we cover here at the Construction Entrepreneur School. You get a trade manual with a math review, general knowledge, health and safety will cover, review questions. You also get a law and business manual, which has the law and business course. It's broken up into 5 sections where you get the license law, mechanic liens, labor law, business management, and we have review questions as well. You get 2 of those books as a value of $349. You also get online tests as well with our course here, where you get the flashcard study mode and exam mode, to where you take it as if you're taking the state exam, you're timed and everything. And you also get DVDs, audio CDs and DVDs here. These are the instructors here for the law and business, for the trade lectures, for the math review, and for the health and safety. Each of those individuals you'll see on the DVDs and hear them on the audio CDs. We also offer Facebook and YouTube live classes or Zoom classes similar to this here. It's weekly. And we'll cover the business law, we cover mechanic liens, labor law, business management. We cover everything you need to know to pass your test, and it's have every weekly. It's nonstop. You attend those classes until you get it. There's no limit on those classes at all once you sign up. So you get all those, each of those there, and if you notice at the end here, we added in the new Contractor Study Group. You'll be included in the new Contractor Study Group for 3 months, where you will have access to all previous classes, and also we'll be covering estimating basics and everything you need to know your first step to getting business, to getting work, to becoming a contractor. And that's the new Contractor Study Group. And all that you pay for $4.99 for all those options there. All right, that's the end of the class there.
Cool.
You there, Quincy?
Yeah, I'm here.
That's the end of the class there, okay? That's what we cover. You have any questions?
With the background, how does that work? I mean, in the first part of it, you were explaining that.
Yeah.
I kind of stepped away during that part.
So the background, let's go back here a little bit. I think this was the part here. You talking about the criminal background or just the experience?
No, the criminal.
So the criminal background, having a criminal background doesn't necessarily or like automatically disqualify you. But if there's anything recent within the last 3 years, the board is going to take a really good look at it. I mean, you will, if it was in the last 3 years and it was a felony, the board would definitely be looking at it. It would definitely, create a red flag. If there's anything over 3 years, then they really will be looking at fraud, because you're going to be, as a contractor, you're going to be dealing with people's credit, people's money, people, sensitive information. So anything dealing with fraud or, check fraud, credit cards and things like that, will lead you more to the meter of being disqualified, or definitely giving some type of restrictions on your license.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So not long as it's not recent, as long as it's not within the last 3 years, if it's old, but when you do decide to take that step and you fill out your application, you want to list everything on there, even if you feel like, oh, you know what, I got that expunged when I was 13. It doesn't matter. That's why they do that live scan fingerprinting. They're getting information from the Department of Justice. All that information is going to Department of Justice, and they're getting everything that's on you. So if you don't list something on there, or you feel that it's been cleared up or no one knows about it, if they receive the information you didn't tell them, they consider you lying. You're falsifying the application. So you can actually get disqualified. So you want to make sure you put everything on there. When you got a ticket when you was 5 for jaywalking, I don't care. Be on there,
Gotcha.
Yeah. Any other questions for me?
What else did you said something after that? Oh, with that 4 years experience stuff, how does that work?
With the 4 years, long as it's 4 years within the 10-year period, okay? So if you have the 4 years, right, it just has to be within a 10-year period. So it doesn't have to be 4 years back to back. It can be a year 9 years ago. It can be 6 months 18 months ago. As long as that time totals up to 4 years, you qualify. Okay.
Okay. And if I never do anything over $500, does that, would that just mean I don't need it, or what?
Right. If you never do anything over 500, then you're in the clear. Now the only way it'll stop you from getting more business if you wind up doing work for other general contractors that requires you to have a license. But if you're just doing work for, other, banks or, other smaller businesses that just have you come in and, doing some work where they don't require you to have it, then no, you're actually free to do the work,
Okay. Yeah, because that's what I was wondering if like getting it, would that make me better or something like that? But from listening to this, I'm a computer tech, so I fix computers for a living, and I
Hmm.
just happen to know how to run low voltage cable.
Right.
But I'm not doing huge projects. Like the most I'll do is like 25 runs, and that's less than $500
Oh
for me.
yeah, you're good. I would just keep it under that, um, and like I say, if you're not doing any work from anyone that's requiring you to have a license, then you're good. You're you're
Oh, okay.
you're actually, you're not doing anything illegal.
Gotcha.
Yeah, keep
Okay.
it under 500 for total cost though. That's total cost.
Right.
Yeah,
Goods and everything.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Good.
I mean, I'll still consider getting it, but it seems like for the most part, I probably won't even need it.
Right. I would agree. I would agree. Don't get it if you don't need it, It's no
Right.
sense. Yeah. Um, but if you do,
And
just
I'm not bidding for jobs or like I'm not doing any of that.
right.
Literally, somebody says, "Hey, the cable to my printer at my house broke."
All
Literally just go
right.
like re-crimp the cable, and that's pretty much about it.
Oh no, you're good. You
Yeah.
still now I would still do some type of agreement, Just
Hmm.
I mean, and then again, that's not if you get up to the $500 range, I would do some type of agreement just to protect yourself, for those small little jobs where you're getting 160, 200
Hmm.
bucks here. It's not so bad, but when you get into 500
Hmm.
dollar jobs or close to it, I would do some type of agreement, even if that agreement is just the invoice where it says what you're doing on there and they sign it.
Hmm.
But do some type of agreement because it's going to really suck if you run into one of those customers that just gives you a hard time and don't want to pay you, and then you wind up
Hmm.
in court and it'd be a whole bunch of mess. So
Yeah. Right. Okay.
yeah, all it takes is one. All it takes is one.
Right.
So yeah, do a contract or an agreement or something, or state what you're doing in the invoice and have a place for
Hmm.
them to sign, and that's going to protect you that way every time, no matter what. And then also too, $60 is $60, no matter if we're doing $120 job, we want the 120, right? when
Right.
you when you have them sign that, you can actually have some grounds to stand on and throw out some threats there, like, hey, you know what, you sign this contract, I'm gonna go ahead and file a lien against your home, because you can actually do it. It doesn't matter if it's for $5. You know,
Hmm.
you have not paid me and you sign this contract. I'm going to file a lien, and sometimes just that scares a person enough to pay you your money.
Right.
So just having that is extra insurance on your end, um, which is always good to have. Always.
Gotcha. Okay. Well,
Okay.
it was definitely a very informative webinar. So
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right, Quincy, I'll let you go there.
cool. All right, brother.
Thanks for attending. Okay.
No doubt. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.